Hello everybody out there, hello my friends, this is Gosia from Cosmic Agency, and I'm going to introduce you to this video that is long-awaited video, I know, by many, video about veganism. This video is on a basis of various conversations, different conversations, mix of conversations that happened with Swaruu of Erra, shara, and Aneeka between 2019 and 2020, somewhere around those dates. And yes, it was a while ago. You might ask, why did I wait? Why did we wait with Robert? Because we are publishing this video at the same time in Spanish, actually. Why did we wait such a long time to publish this? Well, actually, because when we first were given this information, it was not really to be published. It was just them sharing what they found, new analysis, and then we were supposed to look at how we are going to approach this, if this is shareable even. Because yes, in the beginning, Swaruu of Erra was saying, and it was even in one of the videos, that we shouldn't eat meat, that we shouldn't eat anything with the heart and the face. But it turns out that later they did a study, a separate study and analysis of a human diet and the agenda behind the veganism. And it turns out that, well, we here on Earth in the 3D as Illyrians, but the 3D humans, we do need meat for our health. Maybe some more than others. This is individual. So when we were first given this information, it was not something right away to be shared, because here there's so much information and there's just so much data they wanted to provide, they were supposed to provide, and then I think in the end they didn't share absolutely every single detail. The topic was, you know, on and off, coming and going throughout different months and different conversations. So it was never really complete. Me and Robert and also them, we were like, okay, well, once we have this totally complete and decided upon, then we're going to share it. And also there is an issue of, you know, different angles here through which to approach this subject, because it is a delicate, emotional, controversial subject. There is an issue of animals, ethics towards animals. There's also an angle of health, simply health, human body. And then there is an angle of cabal, an Agenda 21 because that was back then in 2019, 2020. So we were like with Swaruu thinking about how to approach this, through what angle the best, and whether it is even shareable, whether it's really even worth to share this. So worth in the sense that, you know, it's going to maybe shake too many boats, and, you know, then we're going to sacrifice all these people that might benefit from other information, but we'll lose them because of this subject. So finally, here we are, and we decided to share it because I think it's too important. There are a lot of new people coming into the channel, and I see them commenting on that video where Swaruu was telling people not to eat meat, and they're like, okay, yes, I will not eat meat. So under each comment I have to like add additional comment, no, eat what you need. And that's why I think it's important to make this video as an update. And then also the reason why we didn't share it is because, you know, in 2020 Swaruu died. So the kind of topic died with her. I think we never really went back to talking about this topic in detail, just random conversations here and there. So it kind of was put away. But I do know that it was important for them to share it. We just didn't know how exactly and from which angle. As I said, it's going to be a controversial subject. For sure, it's going to make many people angry who are vegans and vegetarians. And I must say here, be patient and give yourself some time to absorb this information, because I was angry actually very much in the beginning. When they first came and explained this, I was very angry because myself, I wasn't a vegan. I was a vegetarian, sometimes eating fish, but I was supporting a vegan style, very much lifestyle and diet. So I was very angry because I was like defending animals, because that's exactly right, you know, that's another thing. We didn't want to maybe, or they didn't want to with us share this because or how to share it, because we don't come across as we are supporting the animal suffering and animal abuse, because that's not the case. This issue still stands valid. It's unfair what's happening and should be dealt with in some way. And actually the solution will be explained here in this video as well, their idea of a solution for which we are not actually ready yet as a society, I think. Until all the technologies are liberated, we are not going to be able to apply that solution. So I was very angry myself as well. I had time to adjust into this information, and now I fully understand it and believe it. But yes, be patient and give it a chance. But at the end, it's going to be your individual decision how you want to proceed and if you want to apply this in your life or not. And we're not imposing anything. They're not imposing anything. The proof of this is that we never shared it. They never insisted that we do. So it's a very personal decision what you want to do with this. We are simply offering the information, and they are simply offering the information they found because they regarded the information as important. So I'm going to leave you with this video. I'm not going to appear anymore until the next one probably. So enjoy it or not. There are going to be a lot of nutrition facts and tricks also for you. So I think it's going to be interesting in general for everybody. All right, thank you very much for this intro. Thank you very much for watching this intro. Enjoy the video, like I said, or not, whatever, your decision. And I'll see you very, very, very soon in the next one. Bye-bye. Originally in Spanish. Various conversations between 2019 and 2020. The truth, raw and annoying, is that veganism and vegetarianism is being used as a weapon against humanity because it causes negative health effects in 95 to 98% of people on Earth, whether they accept it or not, because it is already a visceral and emotional issue. So their teeth may be falling out and with a monumental diabetes, but they still do not want to recognize that they are unhealthy. I figured it out by tying it all together. Wow. And how do you explain so many healthy vegans and vegetarians?
They are not, Gosia. It doesn't necessarily manifest itself as an obvious disease.
Veganism has already become a religious issue, a belief system. My data indicates that not eating animal products, particularly animal cholesterol, produces brain reactions that induce violence and hatred, the opposite of what vegans argue. And they are not healthy, only in denial, and it depends on each person. Some endure it more than others.
And women tolerate it more because of a higher body fat % content. And you eat fish, which is ultra nutritious. With that or because of that, you stay healthy. With that salmon you eat, you nourish yourself something that plants don't give you.
Okay, and eating meat, does it lower the frequency then or not? No. What I was sharing before, I was sharing with the best knowledge available and because of the way I personally live and operate. And what's with that belief that by eating animals we give permission to be eaten? That is part of the same belief system. Knowing that you cannot live without animal products and knowing what happens is more than enough. There is no karma other than what you impose on yourself. There are many positive, purely carnivorous species here. Alpha dracos and urmas, to name a few. They consume meat, but not animals. That is, you can make meat without it ever have been a conscious animal, just cells in steak form. That is the solution if it is done on a large scale. But for that, they need to release technologies, because it is not profitable or logical to wait 6 weeks to create a steak. That belief you mention, you feel it as valid. That's why you accept it as valid. That same belief you have, Gosia, I had it until just months ago. Because that belief comes from here, via the Andromedans. But they imposed it on Earth with an agenda long ago. That I have changed my mind is due to a personal evolution, not timeline jumping. I am not here to be popular. There are people on Earth who already hold that meat has nothing to do with spirituality. But there is no extraterrestrial or ascended master or guide or guru who is saying so. Before, I used to say that giving up meat was essential for spiritual elevation. Now I make it easier for humans. That has little to do with the fact itself, only as the associated morality. I am just laying these facts on the table for you. But my data is strong and scientific. I don't like it either, as I am a vegan. But I must stress the obvious, that I am not human and do not have the same organism as humans. The truth is, the negative cabal is using it against people, and veganism is a very effective weapon against the population, and it is doing a lot of damage at levels that I have not yet been able to share with you. In short, vegetarian and vegan humans go into insulin resistance first, and then diabetes, because the human body processes all plant products as sugar glucose. The list goes on and is very long. If we say nothing, we work for the cabal, and we are just another run-of-the-mill New Age spiritual channel or repeater. If we reveal this, we go against the animals. It is a lose-lose situation. It is not justified, but it is human abuse or animal abuse. The starseeds are the ones who will first accept and adopt the vegan diet, becoming sterile and dying sooner, thus getting out of the way of the negative cabal's plans.
And the question, how is it that this has been discovered now and not in the 18th century? Is it because veganism was not so common? Why didn't you study this before?
Because it is new on a large scale. There has always been veganism, at least since 600 AC, but not on a large scale like it is now. There wasn't this data even up here.
It all started because Varu saw that Bill Gates and Al Gore openly and fiercely promote veganism. Suspicious just for starters.
Nothing changes, it just evolves. But this is serious, the food data. The New Age and all their ascended masters and Indian gurus are simply being manipulated by the negatives, and since at least 2,600 years. And no one even here has seen it that way, only me.
To what degree, then, is diet important to keep the frequency high?
Only from the point of view of keeping the physical body healthy. For example, sugar is quite toxic. That is the problem with plants. They are sugar. A lot of them are also toxic for consumption.
Okay, what type of meat is healthier to consume according to your data?
1. Beef. 2. Pork. 3. Fish and seafood. 4. Chicken as the least nutritious.
Wow,
I thought red meat was the worst. They are flipping the tables on you, Gosia. I've looked into that angle myself as well. That's promoted by the agriculture industry to be against the meat industry. Volkswagen versus Fiat. It is only marketing so that you do not consume it because it is the best for human health. And what they want is to make the population sick because of depopulation agendas and because it feeds the pharmacological industry. As I said before, you are in the hands of a technologically and mentally superior invasive species. And why does the human body have to eat meat if we are Lyrians, and the Lyrians were vegans? Artificial meat on a large scale would solve the problem, but only temporarily. By ascending to 5D, humanity will no longer need to eat meat, because they will already have another DNA that is Lyrian, and they are vegan. They are now in third density and do not have the enzymes needed to process plant nutrients, and because they don't have all the DNA activated. They say that humans are not carnivorous because just look at the teeth. But that, once again, is a bent truth, because humans come from Lyrians who are vegans. But they are not Lyrians today. They are humans. Animal energy and animal suffering is present. But still, I have no evidence to show me that eating meat has anything to do with spiritual enlightenment. And yes, there is a big difference between animals called beasts and humans. They don't have to have the same rules for survival, because humans have used their brains as a weapon and not their teeth and claws. The teeth and fangs of humans are the table knives with which they cut meat in any case. However, they are Lyrians limited by a low frequency imposed by the 3D matrix. But we are still Lyrians, aren't we? We have been mentally changed. Our genetics changed as a result of mental manipulation. Therefore, couldn't we be mentally changed again? Change our human genetics to be Lyrian again? Yes, and that is what we must do. But people have to eat today. I don't want to sell you anything, any idea. I'm just trying to put on the table the data I have, and much of this data is backed up on Earth. If you have a strong enough mind to make it, yes, you can, and many make it, but most can't. They are not at that level, and in the meantime they die, and I am serious. The human in the beginning operated in small groups of gatherers and hunters. The damage to the ecosystem was minimal. Now there are many. And the only way to have animal products is with horrible torture farms. The fact that today those slaughterhouses are bad, horrible, and should be closed does not change the fact that individual human beings need to eat animal products. The problem is native and intrinsic to 3D. There is another part that I will mention, but it sounds or would sound like an excuse to people. That in itself, those animals, let's say almost all of them, are matrix, and there is no one inside, as well as it happens with many humans, but we can't know that. If you don't have a healthy body, you don't connect with higher planes. Healthy, at least up to a certain level, and with regards to the central nervous system, that is the first to suffer without animal products and amino acids. But then, why reptilians have programmed us to eat meat, if it keeps us healthy and connected? Because in the beginning, there were only Lyrians here, all vegans. Why did they want us healthy and connected? I thought the reptilian idea was to disconnect us, trying to tie the dots. First of all, because it was no problem for them to keep their farm animals, humans, healthy, because they were in their breeding stage. But now they are in the harvesting stage, and they are trying to reduce the number of humans. So now they are promoting veganism.
All this, and we haven't even told you exactly what happens to the human body with those agendas.
I have been on this topic for at least 4 months now, as something I have worked on closely. I don't take it as flat-out truths, but it is very concrete data. And veganism did not pass the tests. Just as you have told me that there are healthy vegans, and that remains to be seen, as most are just in denial, there are also countless, and by the carload, of humans who are injured, maimed, and with serious chronic problems from the vegan diet.
The data comes in by the bucket load. Apparently, the average is 2 years. The first year, they feel great, but the second year, many go down in health and severely. That is the most common.
Veganism is good as an energetic cleanse, or cleanse. The body benefits a lot from it sometimes. However, you have to listen to it when it asks to be fed again, because eating plants does not nourish it. I have heard, for example, that people say they don't get sick with colds or flus by being vegan. But according to our research, this is due to a weakening of the immune system, creating a trouble spot somewhere other than the nose and throat, which are there for that, to be the front line for attacking disease. You also have to consider that veganism comes along with other things in the subject of health, things that are very beneficial. So you can't attribute improvement to diet alone. And you also have to look at what they are eating. Because if they are eating supplements, like 99% of vegans, then they are eating animals in a pill to stay healthy. Believe me, if anyone has the motivation and resources to see and find alternatives to meat, it is us. And after 4 months, we see no solution. Example, the rural inhabitants of southern Germany and southern Russia have the most abundant centenarian population, and they eat pork 3 times a day.
The idea that one should not eat meat for spiritual advancement was imposed by the rulers of ancient India for population control purposes, because a vegetarian population is more docile, because it is not strong, although they are more aggressive. Monks do not eat meat because without animal cholesterol, they cannot make hormones, particularly testosterone and estrogen. This causes the body to use what little cholesterol is left, that which the body produces, for the survival of the nervous system. It quenches sexual desires. This causes monks to remain celibate, but they remain sterile, just as thousands and thousands of vegetarians and vegans are becoming sterile today, and this is a proven fact. Some who do have children develop poorly, with brittle bones, without muscle, and with a myriad of skeletal and nervous diseases such as multiple sclerosis, as well as problems such as autism and Parkinson's, even in babies, just to name a few things or diseases. Teeth not coming in or falling out. This happens to many adults as well. Serious eye problems like macular degeneration, because the eye needs a lot of cholesterol to function. they go blind. With the issue of veganism, we're going to go head on against the New Age and against extraterrestrial contactism. We're going to be the strange fish swimming against the current, although in reality it is not like that. We will go with the current without resistance. Those who swim and fight against the current are the others who make things overcomplicated. We do not come to be popular. Enough of false aliens giving love and light working against the population.
I'm starting to test the waters for when we talk about veganism. And I say to people that in order to, let's call it ascend, you have to be in good health. And sick people ask me, what about us? If I can clarify that part, people that have cancer and all that.
On one hand, you do need to have good health. But on the other hand, not having it is the cause of many things, including it being the cause of a person wanting to go on the spiritual path. Okay, cancer, for example. Serious problem, but mostly caused by existential dilemmas. In this case, resistance to a meaningless life in an office, for example. The person sees that he has to make a drastic change in his life, or else he will die. This is the real cancer treatment. It was the disease that has made her go towards a spiritual life. By having a healthy body, I mean more than anything else that if you are full of health problems and pains, it will be more difficult for you to find the necessary inner peace. Just try meditating with a stick through your arm, although you can, but only those can who already have a lot of experience, and it has been done. By being sick, you do not lose the right to ascend. The way they are implementing Agenda 21, it is not as something concrete, but as the sum of several small agendas that humans can only see as isolated issues, and not as a coordinated attack that in sum gives a very strong result against humanity. Meat, chemtrails, genetically modified organisms, mind control, vaccines, fake diseases, gay agenda, feminist agenda, MGTOW agenda. The list goes on. If you look at one or the other agenda independently, you don't see the final purpose. But altogether, the damage is enormous. And every sector of the population that is concerned with or takes any of these agendas personally will defend it for the good of the cabal. Talk to the gays about this, and they are all over you. Talk to the vegans about it, and they are all over you. Talk to the feminists about it, and they are all over you. That's the way we go. Yes, I seriously question whether it's worth tackling this, as releasing this information only adds to the noise already out there. And it ends up hurting you guys, because I don't know what you think about it, or how it affects you, or how you make it not affect you. Social media is naturally toxic and designed with every purpose to be so, as yet another agenda of separation with a goal toward Agenda 21. It is a weapon against people disguised as being free speech. Another issue to address there. I don't know what you think so far. I have a doubt here, something that is still not clear to me. I asked it yesterday, but I still don't quite understand it. The Lyrians were vegans when they were here, right? At what point in history did we become carnivores? Was it the result of 3D suppression, or as a result of reptilian mind manipulation? It is something that happened little by little. When there was no other food, they started to hunt, and that's how it all started. Also, we have evidence of cows, gorillas, and squirrels eating raw meat, and they love it. Lyrians were vegans, yes, but circumstances, mind control, habitat, 3D matrix turned them into carnivores. But why there was no food? You mean there was not enough ecosystem for them after being locked in 3D? There were no resources that they had before? That's another point I mentioned yesterday. On Earth, there were and are about 10% of the varieties of plants that there are on any other planet with people of Lyrian origin. I understand. So it was not so much the reptiles manipulating them to eat meat, or that too. The fact that the Lyrians were in that condition, yes, it was a result of the reptiles. Okay, because from what I understand, the reptilians wanted to disconnect us from the source. If so, why make us eat meat if meat was good? Connecting the dots. Meat is good for connecting with source only from the point of view of being healthy and having healthy and efficient nervous system, not because it has some spiritual properties. Yes, I understand. But if that's what kept them healthy, and that helped them with the connection to source, why did the reptiles make us eat meat? Because they wanted us healthy and connected to source as their livestock? Yes, essentially that, Gosia. And because from many aspects, as we commented before, it does confer more suffering to eat meat, from previous points of view. All of this has to be broken down very carefully. I do not have a direct and simple answer to your question. If the reptilians are known to be so intellectually advanced, and knowing that you are studying the data of the terrestrial scientists for your analysis, don't you think it is possible that they have infiltrated the field of the non-system terrestrial scientists to provide data to you later? Because the matrix layers go deep. And what if this data would be false to mislead you? Have you not thought about this? Would it be possible? As a plot for us to help them with this, I do not see it feasible. Rather, we have discovered the plot for us to help the reptilians to make humans eat plants in order to make them sick, so that they become dependent on pharmaceuticals and die. We suffer because of all this too, but we do have a more expanded view. As for the meat, to me it's something that can be liberating for people. The animal aspect is missing. But as we were saying, they eat and are eaten, humans, and they don't have to generate karma. And the very concept of karma as something inescapable is, for me, for us, just a belief system. You can't be a perfect and divine angel, clean, being there in 3D. You can't be here, let alone in 3D. It's part of the experience of living there, whether chicken or human. There are other options for food, yes, but it is a process, and it is not solved by throwing blame, because some eat something and others eat something else. That is separation, division, and that is precisely what the controllers want. But won't the reptiles themselves feel justified in doing what they do? They might say we are hypocrites, fighting them not to take humans as meat, but we do the same. Not those who do it with full intent. Those will still be arrested. But we cannot go against the whole reptilian population, since they are as much or more controlled and exploited than the human population itself. But they won't say, but hey, we eat humans because our biology asks us to. It is not justified as exclusivity as far as humans are concerned. And as reptiles with more technology, they can make artificial meat, like so many advanced carnivorous species. But they don't do it in favor of the human farm. That is what is not tolerated. Humans can't make artificial meat. Reptiles can. That's the difference. Okay, I understand. One thing you said that I didn't understand. You said, but we can't go against the whole reptile population since they are as much or more controlled and exploited than the human population itself. Reptiles are exploited? By whom? By their own government, with a 7-caste system, with those at the bottom doing slave labor, and so on, up to the highest level of the white kingu. The exploitation in the middle levels of the system of 7 is comparable to humans on Earth. The repression to which they are subjected is just as tyrannical.
We know that this is a very difficult and controversial topic, but in no way is it intended to be imposing. Here, everyone will take what they want, even when the subject gets published. The circus, as Swaruu rightly say, is and will be inevitable, so it will be ignored, but humans need to know the truth that is hidden behind.
So I propose that for the moment we focus on the point, what is best for human health? And let's leave aside the issue of karma and animal rights, Agenda 21, and the others, until the first issue has been clarified.
Well, I would like to say first, as a bit of history, that on Earth there are already quite basic books, like the one entitled Doctors and Patients, published in 1954, that said that vegetarianism produced very negative effects on the body because vegetable products are interpreted and processed by the body as sugars, with their subsequent demand for insulin, which in turn causes insulin resistance, leading to diabetes and other similar problems. Vegetable protein is not compatible with the human anatomy. Sooner or later, serious and irreversible damage to the whole organism will occur in many cases. First, there will begin to be complications or problems in weak points, so to speak, where there were already antecedents. Here, people will deny it and attribute it to genetics, which is not the case.
We have very concrete data that, if it were not for the fact that it is already fully validated at the scientific level, we would not present it here as truth. These data are validated not only by our laboratories, but by various human researchers on Earth. They contradict what is sold as propaganda both in the media and in the press and alternative media. 1. Humans can only digest meat, fish, and dairy products, animal fat and protein. Lactose intolerance is another isolated thing. 2. Vegetable protein is not digestible and cannot be absorbed. By not consuming animal products, the body goes into a state of starvation. There will be vegans who say they are healthy. We and I do not believe this for a moment because they are in denial. And as Shara said, they will have problems in their weakest points sooner or later. 3. Veganism only serves as a cleanse, as a diet, with a maximum of 3 months. After that, you will have to eat animal products or face serious problems. 4. Humans cannot digest plants except in small quantities, and everything else is interpreted as sugar, as Naishara has said, inevitably making people diabetics. 5. Vegans who claim to be healthy are in denial, as at a glance you can see how many are in a serious decline, blaming their bad symptoms on external agents such as genetics and pesticides. 6. Cholesterol is not bad. It is good. All products with cholesterol of animal origin are beneficial to the human body. It is necessary, and the higher the cholesterol, the healthier a person is. The older a person is, the more cholesterol he or she needs. 7. Meat is easily digestible for the human body, not plants, contrary to what you are told.
Imagine a bean where 15% is protein and the remaining 85% are carbohydrates, starches, fiber, and even poisons, because the bean itself is designed to defend against natural predators, and objectively those 15% are not designed for human intake, and so most vegetables. Just look at your stomachs. They are not the same as those of cows, for example.
Relying on beans and the like for protein intake causes you to have to eat 85% of other things that cause insulin spikes. So before you have an adequate amount of protein, you first become diabetic. And each person's resistance is unique. Veganism has been directly linked to these problems. 1. Infertility in women. Impotence in men. 2. Macular degeneration and blindness. 3. Dental degeneration coupled with loss of teeth. 4. Autoimmune problems such as lupus. 5. Problems of overweight and obesity. 6. Cardiovascular problems, heart attacks and arteriosclerosis, strokes and internal strokes. 7. Degenerative mental problems such as dementia and Alzheimer's disease. 8. Mental problems of aggressiveness, schizophrenia, delusions of persecution, and lack of mental agility. 9. Severe neurological problems of various kinds. 10. Underdevelopment and malnutrition in children and young people. 11. Problems in pregnancy and miscarriages. Just to mention a few. Never before have there been so many vegans in the world. There are no long-term studies that can be trusted.
And, as we said before, this has become another religion for humans.
Most vegans are vegans for sentimental reasons, and the media only gives them what they want to hear, and it is disinformation. From whom? At the lower strata, it comes from the big farming industries, like Monsanto. And at the larger level, it is the controllers who want Agenda 21. At the large scale, agriculture is profitable and easy to do. At the industrial level and livestock farming, it is not. At the low level of few vegetables to feed a family, it simply cannot be done because it is extremely difficult. You need a lot of knowledge and you need a lot of land on which to grow those vegetables. And the product is not calculable, so it is impossible to foresee how much food they will have from those vegetables. They cannot depend on it. Even at our level here, we have in these big Toleka class warehouses an area of aquaponics-based vegetables. And even here, it does not serve to feed the crew, but only as support for the galleys, as they give fruits and vegetables as well as cooking herbs in small quantities. We cannot depend on our aquaponics deck to subsist. However, on a small private farm scale, it is possible to keep animals for consumption. The problems are reversed. For large companies, it is very difficult to raise livestock and they have little economic remuneration, and agriculture is profitable for them. For humans on a small scale, livestock farming is better. Only then can you begin to see why the vegan agenda, why humans are being pushed to be vegan.
And yes, as Swaruu says, this had a sentimental beginning. Just look back. Before, they didn't care about animals. In fact, they said they were beings without atma. But what happened after? Public figures come out saying that they are becoming vegetarians because if the slaughterhouses had glass walls, nobody will be carnivorous. But the truth is that this is where they start, awakening empathy, that of course is correct. But here they play a double discourse, a double purpose.
The big companies that produce vegetable food, the big agricultural companies, destroy hundreds of thousands of hectares with their crops, destroying ecosystems and countless species of animals and other plants. They destroy the soil, leaving it barren. And they blame cows for global warming, literally because of their flatulence. As silly as this may seem, that's what they grab onto and sell to the public as truth. It has been proven that the Earth's fertile soil was created by the presence of large grazing herbivores. One destroys the planet, the other heals it. Those are my facts. Okay. First of all, thank you. It's quite a shock to hear all this, but well, my world was changed in one way or another over the years, so it's okay if I have to adapt again to something new. C'est la vie. Having said that, and I don't want you to take this as me debating, I just want to understand everything better. My first serious question. The list you have provided with all the malignant effects that the vegan diet has, such as mental problems, etc., how exactly did you come to relate this to the diet? I imagine you have no humans there to experiment on. Was it through traveling to the future perhaps and seeing the consequences? Or in what way have you done the analysis to come up with such accurate data? I know you are very technically advanced and there will be ways, but I would like to know a little more. Mainly, it was by doing our exhaustive research on or relying on doctors on Earth who are not from the system and who have data online. Example of these doctors is Dr. Natasha Campbell McBridge. And then we checked it against what our labs tell us here on the Ventra science ship. Considering the clear motives behind pushing a vegan diet, I am inclined to see that it is just part of the cabal's negative agendas. The data is concise and factual, blunt.
And they made us raise our eyebrows, as they say on Earth, when we started seeing people like Bill Gates, etc., claiming to be vegan.
You have commented Earth doctors who are not from the system. Now, surely there are others who are not from the system either, and who, if we look for them, would present other data. This is what always happens with data. One group says this and another says that. We have never gone into this from any side, since my reason for being a vegetarian has always been sentimental, as has been said. But in short, can you trust this data from Earth doctors even if they are not from the system? Because, as I said, if you start searching, you will surely find other vegan doctors, also not from the system, who would have other data, right? We have researched the others who support veganism, and they all have ties to Monsanto or the Illuminati. Example of this is Bill Gates and Al Gore, both working hard for veganism. It is now a weapon against humanity. They have used the sentimental aspects against people.
2 questions. Number 1, what do you know about vitamin B12? And number 2, do plants also have pain? Thank you, Shara, for your research.
You're welcome, Robert. Swaruu, please continue.
1. B12 is found in some plants in small amounts and is not well absorbed. The problem is that the laboratories take it as B complex, not just B12, even if the molecule is artificial or vegetable and is inverted from that of animal origin. It is not absorbed. 2. Plants feeling pain. It is true that there is a reaction that we could call pain, but this is also a humanized idea, interpretation. In the end, no life wants to be eaten. It is part of being alive. Without death, there is no life. There is no life without some dying. And then it is the other way around. In itself, to say that the life of a cow is worth more than that of a chicken or of a carrot is only humanized interpretation. It is only a point of view based on prejudices and personal interpretations. Related to the last thing you said, Swaruu, can you blame the reptiles then? Can they feed on anything other than humans? Okay, this is what happens, Gosia, which you will find very interesting. There are groups of Kingu reptiles in dumps on Earth who do not agree with human exploitation and take it very much to heart. However, in order to subsist, they are forced to continue to consume human flesh. Think about that. Thinking. And why don't they agree with this if they have to consume human meat for their biological needs? For the same reason that many humans do not agree with animal abuse, yet they are forced to continue consuming meat. Because they are not intrinsically evil. They also want to improve themselves. They have minds and hearts. And they are in the same dilemma as many meat-eating but awakened humans. The solution is artificial meat, but it depends on how it is manufactured, because if it is easily replicated, it is highly toxic. And in the meantime, what will they eat? Well, then why do we fight them if they have no other choice? Because not all reptiles are the same. There is also repression there, and it is said to be even worse than on the surface with humans. Metaphysically speaking, where is the bad karma of consuming meat if humans are consumed equally anyway? There is only karma if you want it. Killing to eat and survive is an inescapable part of 3D.
Question. What do you think of the people who feed on prana? Is that an option for humanity? Thank you.
At this point, I see no evidence of that being done, nor is it feasible on a large scale, even when it is heroically achieved by someone who is basically starving and lasts long without dying because his body is just lying there in the lotus position doing nothing. Therefore, with little nutritional need. Go out and talk to a road repair worker who spends his days in the sun hauling stone and moving machinery. Tell him to consume prana and see how his body reacts. Veganism would kill him in less than a month.
And here is a sensible question. Do you really come to 3D to experience being in a lotus position or to grow?
Okay, what food is healthy besides meat? What do you recommend to eat to someone who still doesn't want to eat animals, at least for the moment? That you consume more of the same fish that you have been eating. But eventually, if you do this, it will cause a seafood allergy. You have to vary, or you will lose the ability to eat seafood. More dairy products, cheese, butter, not margarine, which is poison, eggs in large quantities, fruits and vegetables. Fruits have a lot of sugar. Vegetables too, even if they are not sweet. There are plants with more sugar than sugar itself. That is, they have a higher glycemic index than sugar itself, like pasta, white breads, European rice, not Chinese or Japanese.
Thank you. My question would be the following. Which comes first, ethics or biology?
What comes first? I think that's a personal thing. No one has the right to decide that over another person. Nut-type food, nuts, almonds, etc. Brown rice, quinoa, these kinds of things. Lots of nutrition in fats, omega, and vitamin nutrients. But they also have toxic qualities, as do beans and the like, since they are seeds and have natural substances to avoid being eaten by insects more than anything else. A large animal, those natural poisons will do nothing to it. But yes, if it consumes those nuts and beans on a large scale, as vegans do. They can be consumed, but not on a large scale.
Avoid anything that says whole grain. It is not what they tell you. It harms your health and also causes tears in the intestines.
But white is also bad? There is white or whole wheat bread, white or brown rice. Which one is good then? As you will see, it is basically the opposite of what the matrix nutritionists tell you. In general, all bread is gluten, and that is sugar with a glycemic index higher than its own weight in refined sugar. Although it would seem contradictory, white bread would be less bad. You can eat whole wheat, but not on a large scale because it is nuts and seeds. It is causing weight gain and digestive problems in the population. But as we have said before, it varies from person to person, so you should not worry too much.
They say that meat is a decomposing body part. How true is that? And can you be an athlete and a vegan at the same time?
Decomposing meat is nutritious if you can deal with the microorganisms. Many Eskimos eat it and are very healthy. They only start having problems when industrialized diets are imposed on them. Again, it's a matter of point of view. If you feel it will hurt you, it will. But that happens with everything. Athlete and vegan, just no. We have many documented cases of people who have tried it, destroying their athletic career, and this even at a young age. The strongest man in the world is a vegan. He is an athlete, but I don't know his health status. But he is officially the strongest man in the world. There are many on YouTube who get all muscular and strong, but there is evidence that they are not vegan. They eat meat. And they just put them there to further their vegan agenda. Or they are just liars. All for likes and YouTube ratings. I doubt it, Gosia. With that leaf in his mouth, this screams vegan agenda.
Do as we say here. Humans should do the exact opposite of what your governments and institutions tell you.
Well said, Naishara. Remember their agenda. If you do the opposite, the outcome is only logical. I have a vegan nutritionist friend who is not from the system. He has studied nutrition a lot. He is dedicated to that. And he teaches people how to get out of manipulation and industries. He is not Matrix. He deprograms people from many industrial myths. And he is a vegan. He has a lot of data too. How do you explain this then? I imagine that the data he has studied would be manipulated too then. When you think you get out of the matrix, there is more matrix behind? Because he has his data coming from the same system. Supposedly it is not, but it is based on the alternative that is also controlled by the system. That is also why the ascended masters say you must be vegan. Just because someone says they are not of the system doesn't mean anything anymore. It is all still of the system based on alternative data. Where does the system end and the truth begin?
Growing is continuity. It is flowing. It is constantly moving forward.
You have to do the best you can with the data you have at hand at any given moment. We only offer you this data. You can research it on your own. And how do we know that this data is not matrix as well? Since behind every matrix layer, there is another one. Just philosophizing. Where does the matrix end? Gosia, just do what you can do best. I cannot give you anything that will convince you 100%. I only offer the data. Yes, thank you all. I have another question regarding dairy. They say it has growth hormones, so people with cancer should not eat any dairy. Is this true? False, because it has nothing to do with cancer. Hormones and chemicals in meats are a problem, but it is not something intrinsic to meats, but to one or another in particular. Meats do not cause cancer either, nor do they if they are half-cooked or burnt or anything like that. That is a massive misinformation in the media. I have another quick question related to cholesterol. Isn't it related to heart disease? They say that if your cholesterol is high, you have to lower it to avoid heart attacks, etc.
Talking about cholesterol is a very long topic. It would be very good to talk about it another time, with more time, so that it is clearer, because it is not what they tell you.
That's right. In short, what causes arteriosclerosis and heart attacks is a chronic inflammation caused mostly by a very high amount of insulin in the body, caused by sugars and carbohydrates. Cholesterol has the opposite effect as it prevents heart attacks and arteriosclerosis. What human doctors tell you is wrong, ignorant, and criminal. And the older you are, the more cholesterol you need. Cholesterol is not a problem unless your cholesterol is very low. Blood sugar, on the other hand, is a problem. Triglycerides are not a problem, as they are fats in the form of ketones for consumption of the cells of the body. But from what I understand, cholesterol is high because you have something wrong there. And it protects you, isn't it? Yes. Same with high blood pressure. It is because of something. And that something is usually because the blood and its nutrients are not getting to some part of the body. If you artificially lower it without correcting the real problem, then you deprive that part of the body of blood with subsequent failure. Never lower the pressure. You should correct the problem that caused the pressure to rise. And organic meat is the best? Sure, that's always the case. organic from small private farms that have nothing to do with the system. And the dairy industry? The vegans are partly right there. But just talking about calcium, the calcium sold as supplements cannot be absorbed and only forms kidney stones. Only calcium supplements based on seashells are absorbed. But the dairy part is a bit complicated because in general milk can be somewhat harmful, but not as much as they say. Cheeses, on the other hand, if they are genuine cheeses, are okay and perfectly healthy. The alternatives to milk will have to be studied one by one. For the moment, we have seen that almond milk is not good. Rice milk has no nutritional properties other than the vitamins that are not absorbable by humans. Honey, assuming it is not fake honey, is good, but not in large quantities since it is sugar. However, there are things that cause more insulin than sugar, that are more sweet in the negative aspect to the body than sugar, like white rice and breads with gluten, which are almost all. Whole wheat has less gluten, but has a lot of grains or seeds. The problem is that they are very strong physically, like eating wood. What happens is that they hurt the inside of the intestine, causing small tears that bleed because the tissue made to absorb nutrients is very delicate. This causes elements such as toxins and fecal matter to pass through the intestine directly into the bloodstream, causing blood poisoning and an overload to the immune system. From one point of view, whole wheat is healthier. But from another point of view, white wheat is healthier. In fact, we have studied and seen that historically speaking, the introduction of bread to human society has been imposed as a substitute for meat.
We have found that it is also highly toxic and damages the neurons. Those who eat a lot of gluten have their mental capacity affected by quite a strong percentage.
There we have another reason to introduce a high gluten diet to the human population for control. And gluten is highly addictive. And salads are needed, but not in the quantities you are told.
What we have also seen is that on Earth, they only share with us and other naturally vegan races about 10% of all edible plant varieties. And they're missing the most important ones, nutritionally speaking, which we do have. Or they have different varieties without the nutrients. This is the case with seaweed, which on Earth is quite good, but lacks the protein content of what we have here. And seaweeds for us are the basis of flour. There's no better translation. For breads and cakes in our society. So we are gluten-free. This explains why we eat breads and cakes until our tummies shine without getting fat.
Mushrooms in general are problematic. We don't know how serious yet. They like to associate with cancer cells. At least the salmon you eat is very healthy. That's why you haven't gotten sick.
The problem with tuna, what they sell you is no longer tuna because it contains a very high and variable from brand to brand amount of modified soy. Tuna per se is very good as you would expect, but what they sell you is not tuna. Heavy metals such as mercury in tuna and other fish. It has been proven that with a healthy intestinal flora, 99% of these metals are filtered out and absorption is avoided. Eggs are totally okay. Consume as much as you want. Healthy base food. Suggestion: use butter and not cooking oils, never margarine.
You as a civilization were never manipulated by another race. Your diet was never manipulated. Interesting question, Gosia. We have been a free civilization for some 850,000 human years, although the dates cannot be calculated. Apparently, our diet has never been manipulated. It is part of 3D. Free for 850,000 years, and before that? Before that was the time of the Great Expansion, which is when the Lyrians, the ancestors of some 400,000 races of human-like beings, had to flee the Vega solar system because of the reptilian invasion, approximately 1 million years ago. And these reptilians have never managed to dominate your society as they are doing with us? In other words, your diet, for example. Are you 100% confident that it is good for you? Aren't there opposing agendas for your civilization and within your civilization? We have had a lot of time to filter and analyze what we eat. In fact, our medicine is herbal. Food is medicine. There is no difference. And the other ET races, because I imagine that they also support a vegan diet, and when they contact humans, they tell them not to eat animals. And now, what happens then? The data is passed on to other races as well? Are they on board so that everything is coordinated between you and other races? Or each race shares its own data? The data on veganism has made a revolution up here among the Federation races. Not because it has changed our diet, but because of all that it implies for its countless ramifications on how it affects humans. Our data on veganism has caused a series of friction and diplomatic problems between various races here, still ongoing. Does this series of frictions between races have to do with the fact that they do not trust this data? Or what is the cause of the friction? It is many things at the same time. Those who do not trust the data have not yet seen it in detail. If you imply that other races can come to refute this new data, it will not be possible. There are few things more documented by us now than the food topic. And we have no interest in following what we see is being in favor of the cabal. The animal element hurts us as much as any other race here. At this time, we have to decide what to do with what we have at hand. At this time, the population of Earth is in serious trouble. So we enter a time when, even temporarily, we must decide whether it is the animals or the humans, cruelty to animals or to humans. It is not easy to liberate a planet, and we must solve everything as a whole and not one problem at a time, because we will not be able to do it that way. Like solving a Rubik's Cube. Solving only one side or color at a time is not possible. The cube has to be solved by organizing its sides and their respective colors at the same time.